This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Destruct sequence Alpha 1. 15 minutes silent countdown. Enable.
Self-destruct in 15 minutes. There will be no further audio warnings.
So much for the Enterprise E.
We barely knew her.
Think they'll build another one?
Plenty of letters left at the alphabet.
To help break this alphabet code?
This alphabet flex.
It can't be our alphabet.
Take it easy, I'm new at this.
What, the alphabet?
There's a lot of converging evidence for, okay, these different ways of knowing. There's propositional knowing. This is what we are most familiar with. In fact, it's almost has a tyrannical status, right? So this is knowing that something is the case, like that cats are mammals, and it's stored in semantic memory, and we have tests of coherence and correspondence and conviction, right? There's procedural knowing. This is knowing how to do something. Skills are not theories. They're not beliefs. They're not true or false. They engage the world or they don't. And they are stored in a different kind of memory. Procedural memory. Semantic memory can be damaged without any damage to procedural memory. That's why, you have the prototypical story of somebody suffering Alzheimer's and they're losing all kinds of facts, but they can still sit down and play the piano flawlessly. Same kind of argument. There's perspectival knowing. This is knowing what it's like to be you here now in this situation, in this state of mind, the whole field of your salience landscaping, what it's like to be you here now. And you have a specific kind of memory around that, episodic memory. And you have a different sense, you have a different criterion of realness. So you can get this by, my friend Dan Chiappia and I, we studied the scientists moving the rovers around, or you can take a look at people who are doing VR. People talk about, they want to really be in the game. That makes it real. They don't mean verisimilitude. You can get that, right? Sense of being in the game with something like Tetris, which it doesn't look like the real world. And you can fail to have it in a video game that has a lot of verisimilitude. It's something else. It's about, again, this kind of connectedness that we're talking about.
If I may interrupt, is that connected to the hard problem of consciousness, the subject, the qualia, or is that that kind of knowing, is that different from the qualia of consciousness? I
think it has to do with, I make a distinction between the adjectival and the adverbial qualia. So I think it has to do with the adverbial qualia much more than with the adjectival. So the adjectival qualia are like the greenness of green and the blueness of blue. The adverbial qualia are the here-ness, the now-ness, the togetherness.
Yeah.
And I think the perspectival knowing has a lot to do with the adverbial qualia.
Adjectival qualia and adverbial qualia. I'm learning so many new things today. Okay, so that's another way of knowing.
Right, the perspective, and then there's a deeper one. And this is a philosophical point, and I don't want to, we can go through the argument, right? But you don't have to know that you know in order to know, because if you start doing that, you get an infinite regress. There has to be kinds of knowing that doesn't mean you know that you know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Well, there was a lot of ink spilled over a 40-year period. So
by philosophers, this is what they do. They spill ink.
Yeah. But
I want to talk paid for ink spillage.
So I want to talk about what I call participatory knowing. This is the idea that you and the world are co-participating in things, and such that real affordances exist between you. So both me and this environment are shaped by gravity. So the affordance of walking becomes available to me. Both me and a lot of this environment are shaped by my biology. And so affordances for that are here. Look at this cup. Shared physics, shared sort of biological factors. Look at my hand, I'm bipedal.
Yeah.
Also, culture is shaping me and shaping this. I had to learn how to use that and treat it as a cup.
Yeah.
So this is an agent arena relationship, right? There's identities being created in your agency, identities being created in the world as an arena. So you and the world fit together. You know when that's missing, when you're really lonely or you're homesick or you're suffering culture shock. So this is participatory knowing. And it's the sense of, it comes with a sense of belonging.
At every level. So the ability to walk is a kind of
Yes,
knowing
yes,
that there's a dance between the physics that enables
yes.
this process, and just participating in the process is the act of knowing.
Right. And there's a really weird form of memory you have for this kind of knowing. It's called yourself.
What? Can you elaborate?
Well,
What do you mean?
So we talked about how all the different other kinds of knowing had specific kinds of memory: semantic memory for propositional, procedural,
Yes.
right? Episodic for perspectival. What's the kind of memory that is the coordinated storehouse of all of your agent arena relationships, all the roles you can take, all the identities you can assume, all the identities you can
Yeah.
assign?
What's the self? Do you mean like consciousness, or
No,
like
I mean
some
your
kind of
sense of self.
sense of self in this world? That's not consciousness. That's
No, but
like an agency or something.
right? It's an agent arena relationship.
And so in an agent arena relationship, it's the sense of the agent.
And
Okay.
and that the agent belongs in that arena.
Whatever the agent is, whatever the arena is, because there's probably a bunch of
Yes.
different framings of how you experience that.
Yeah, and you do. You have within your identity as a self, you have all kinds of roles that are somehow contributing to that identity, but are not equivalent to that identity.
Yeah. I wonder if like my two hands have different, because there's a different experience of me picking up something with my right hand and then my left hand.
So
Are those like
that's a really cool question, Lex.
are they
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z. Now I've said